say welcome. We thank all of you all for coming out tonight to our meeting. And at this time, we're going to ask Dr. Miller if she would please do roll call.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Good evening. A long day, right?
Right.
Ms. Frances Boomer.
Here.
Ms. Naomi Clark.
Present.
Mr. Victor Dove. Mr. Carl Ipock.
Present.
Ms. Stephanie King.
Here.
Ms. Kelly Muse.
Here.
Ms. Kimberly Smith.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a forum.
Thank you. And at this time, I would like to know if there are any amendments to the agenda. Having none, I need to get a motion to adopt the September 16th, 2021 board meeting agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It has been moved and second that we adopt the September 16th, 2021 board meeting agenda. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Ayes have it. Agenda is adopted. We would like to begin tonight with our vision and our mission statement. Our vision statement is, we envision a public education system that challenges all students as learners and prepares them to imagine and create a successful life, value educators, and empowers them to inspire and spark innovation in every student, leads in education and community engagement, and invites all students, their families, and all members of the community to work together to support public education to the benefit of our students, our community, our nation, and our world. Our mission statement, together with our families and community, Craven County Schools would educate all learners to personal, professional, and civic success through challenging and personalized instruction. And at this time, we would like to recognize all our elected officials who may be looking in tonight, our dignitaries, our leaders who are present in the audience. We are very honored tonight to recognize Dr. Eleanor Patrick, who used to be the former principal of Oaks Road, but now is here at Central Services in charge of exceptional children. But she is our principal of the year. We would like to recognize Craven County School Teacher of the Year, Ms. Arnita Morris. She may be, she just came in, young lady in the back, smiling. She is one of her teachers at H.A. McDonald Middle School. Our military liaison, Ms. Letha Palmer, doing an outstanding job. Is she here tonight? Also, Craven County School Military Liaison Counselor, Ms. Valerie Nasser. Would like to recognize her as well. Partners in Education, I did see her come in. Our Executive Director, Ms. Darlene Brown. Raise, all right, Ms. Darlene. And we'd like to recognize all our principals and staff who are here tonight. Would you please stand? Okay. And at this time, I'll call upon our school board attorney, Mr. Brian Gaucho, to lead the invocation.
Board members, if you'll please pray with me. Lord, your word tells us that you give strength to the weary and you increase the power of the weak. You are our place to go when we are empty and our second wind when we are worn down. How do you restore the weary warrior? If we wait on you, you will refill us. If we look to you, you will guide us. If we listen to you, you will lead us. You make broken wings soar and weak legs sprint. King David often calls you a fortress. You are a place of rest and peace, no matter what comes to our gates. Strengthen us today, God, as we acknowledge you, and be our fortress of peace when we run to you. I proclaim these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we are very honored tonight to have our students from J.W. Smith Elementary School. And at this time, I would like for Christian Cannon, Alonzo Garcia Resendez, Mason Powers, Dawn Maria Whitehead, William Brown, and Cindy Hernandez Marino from J.W. Smith to please stand and lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us stand with them, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
And we're going to turn this over to J.W. Smith, and they will do our character word for us this month.
At James W. Smith, we are learning how to be a pledge with you.
I pledge to be a kid for character. I will be worthy of trust. I will be respectful and responsible, doing what I must. I will always act with fairness. I will show that I care. I will be a good citizen and always do my share.
This month we are learning about respect. Respect is showing high regard for ourselves, others, and property. We have a story to share with you to explain more.
means to respect people with kindness and care, and also use polite words and never be mean or pick on people because it's not nice. You value them by being fair and being kind. You should value everyone even if they're different because everyone is special.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sweetheart.
Now all the parents can breathe, it's all over. But they will not tell anything. At this time, I'm going to ask our vice chair to do two things. First of all, to do our rules
Okay,
and our safety procedure, please.
so our ground rules for all Craven County Schools meetings are posted on the back wall. The gentleman in the red shirt, just a little bit right there. You can be Vanna for us, you can point. Ground rules are posted and approve the agenda, which you saw us do. To listen as an ally, one person speaks at a time, respect each other, which those students just gave us a great lesson on how to do that. Everyone participates, that means the board, this is the board meeting. So when we call on the audience for participation, it's the only time at a meeting like this that the audience to participate. Stay on task, start and stop on time, schedule appropriate breaks, evaluate at the end of each meeting. And if everyone could make sure your cell phones and anything that beeps, alarms, goes off, anything that could disrupt the meeting, if it could be turned off or on silent now, that would be awesome. For our safety, if we were to have a fire, we would split the room right down the middle where Ms. Wagner is standing. If you're to my right, if we would have a tornado drill, we would exit this way into the interior hallway. This side would enter this interior hallway here. And I'm going to ask these amazing students for James W. Smith to stand up and show us the position for tornado drill. Show us what we do when we get in the hallway if we have a tornado drill. There you go. There you go. That's what we're going to do if we have a tornado drill. Good job, guys. You can do that so much better than we could. Thank you. If we were to have a fire, we would split the room the same way, except we'd exit the building to the right and to the left and to the furniture hallway. If we were to have an intruder in the building and they were not in the room with us, we would secure the building. Anyone who could would call for help and alert the rest of the building, and we wait for an all clear. If the intruder were in the building with us tonight, we have our safety man in the back who's going to take charge. Wave to us, Mr. Lucas. But we're going to also do the same things. We're going to alert the building. We're going to call for help, and then we're going to take care of each other, guys, like we know we should. And that's it. But now we'll go into the student
recognition.
The recognition, student recognitions. I'll wait for you guys to get down there with our student recognitions, because the first folks we're going to recognize are you guys. So you come on back up, because we have special gifts for you from the Veterans of Foreign Wars for helping us lead the pledge, and from the school system for helping us with the character word. So I'll call their names one more time. Christian Cannon, Alonzo Garcia. I have Grace with me in the last name, Rosines. Could somebody say that for me? Thank you. Deserves to hear it said right. Mason Powers, Damari Whitehead, William Brown, Cindy Hernandez, and Cindy Hernandez Marino.
Say mama to frame a voice. Mason.
And we want to thank their counselor, Ms. Jones, who we know did a great job working with them to have this presentation ready for us tonight. Miss, yeah.
You want to say something, don't you?
Yeah.
You're ready. I can tell. Y'all get together, be close. On three, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Don't cover up your pretty face. Put your shirt down just a little. There you go. 1, 2. Parents, go ahead.
Let's give them a round of applause. And thank you for helping us with our safety procedures. Following under the student recognitions, I'd like to call on board member Naomi Clark to help us recognize our foreign exchange students.
Thank you. Mr. Bielefeld isn't here tonight. Is his host family here? All right, I'm still like to read it, Madam Vice Chair.
Absolutely.
This year, Craven County Schools is delighted to have one foreign exchange student attending New Bern High School. We welcome these students because of the educational and cultural advantages foreign exchange students bring to our schools. Foreign exchange students serve as ambassadors for their home countries and share their own culture and experiences with students in our schools as well as with community people. The year's student is represented by the Foreign Exchange Placement Organization, Council on International Exchanges. Many thanks to this organization and the local coordinator, Allison Shaffrick, for making this student placement a reality. This particular student is Nicholas Bielefeld, attending New Bern High School. His host family is Miss Lisa Leonard and Mr. Sidney Vernelson Jr. The local coordinator, of course, is Allison Shaffrick. Each year, the Craven County Board of Education welcomes foreign exchange students into our high schools for the cultural benefits it provides our students. Nicholas is from Germany and recently turned 17 years old. He wanted to study abroad to learn more about American culture, ways of life abroad, as well as meet new people and try new sports such as baseball and American football. Nicholas describes himself as open-minded, athletic, competitive, creative, funny, and talkative. He also hopes this experience will help him perfect his English skills and is also fluent in French. He loves cooking and trying new dishes, visiting the mountains as well as the ocean. This makes North Carolina a great location for a study abroad experience. He enjoys spending time with his family, and although they fully support his decision to study abroad, he admits his parents are a little anxious about him being away for such a long period of time. His father is a CEO and his mother is an accountant. Nicholas' future plans are to attend college and major in industrial engineering in order to go into the family business. Nicholas will be a New Bern High School Bear for the 2021-22 school year, which will provide students an opportunity to learn more about his culture and traditions. Nicholas, welcome to Craven County Schools, and we would like to also thank your host family for helping provide this opportunity. Thank you.
And continuing with our student recognitions, I'll call on board member Victor Dove to help us recognize students who represented Craven County Schools with the West Craven Future Farmers of America.
This past June, the West Craven High FFA Parliamentary Procedure Team had the opportunity to compete in the state competition virtually. The competition consisted of 25 questions and performing a 15-minute parliamentary procedure demonstration virtually for a group of judges. The team holds a mock business meeting and performs certain parliamentary abilities. The team had a great performance and placed third in the state. We are proud of the hard work these students put into this competition and how they overcame the obstacles during a virtual world. So please join me in congratulating the team members. On the team, we have Mrs. Madison Wilson. She graduated. We have Morgan Everett, Samantha Hunnings, Ryan Turnich, Carson Lackey, Taylor Rogers, and Riley Casey. And we would also like to recognize Taylor Rogers for being awarded the Office of Treasurer for the Southeast FFA region. This region is one of the 8 FFA regions in the state, and officers of the Southeast FFA region are responsible for hosting and leading the regional leadership conference in the fall and regionally rally competitions in the spring. Tonight, we celebrate all the students that represent Craven County School Boards, Schools West Craven High FFA. Great job, guys. Great job.
Good? Good job.
Congratulations.
Continuing, we'll be beginning now with our staff recognitions. I'd like to call on board member Stephanie King to recognize partners in education.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Tonight, we recognize partners in education for their coordination of Stuff the Bus. Unfortunately, we cannot invite all 131 volunteers, but those who are here and members of the PI board, please come up front to be recognized. They're coming. The start of the school year can be a stressful time for families. Parents often must choose between buying school supplies or putting food on the table. The right school supplies are critical to helping students feel prepared to succeed. To start the academic year off right, PI holds a Stuff the Bus event to collect school supplies for our in-need students. All supplies collected are distributed to students through their principal and school counselors. Our volunteers from the schools and our community were on hand, sorting and scanning items and honking the horn of the school bus each time a donation was made as a way of showing thanks. BSH is the title sponsor of Stuff the Bus with 47 business sponsors and 16 organizations serving as advanced drop-off locations. Several businesses had school supply drives. Items collected in advance were delivered on the day of the event with live radio remotes and sheriff deputy cruisers. We had a fun and high energy day. Donors received coupons from local businesses as a thank you. We can't finish tallying the numbers for the event because we keep getting donations. We are now over 45,000 in school supplies and sponsorships with 33,000 in-kind contributions through media sponsorship. Thank you to all the volunteers, sponsors, and of course, all of you who supported this event by making donations and volunteering. Thank you to Staples for letting us park our bus in front of your store. Thank you. This event is dedicated to Danny Humphrey, store manager at Staples, who passed away in August. Rest easy, Danny. We carried the event to a higher level, and you would be so proud. As Darlene Brown, PI Executive Director says, we have a good story to tell, and we made our corner of the world a little better through Stuff the Bus. Let's give them all a hand. I know, right? Your eyes are smiling.
Yeah. I'm continuing with our staff recognitions. I'll call upon Board Member Kelly Muse to recognize the Drug Abuse Resistance Education Program. Otherwise, we all know it is DARE.
Would Stacy Lee, Lieutenant Billy Mathis, Corporal Jason Detweiler, SRO Brady Riggs, SRO Alan Spurlock, Matt Knight, Chip Chaganon, members of the PI Board, and Darlene Brown come to the front of the room, please. Tonight, we recognize the Craven County ABC Board for their support of the DARE program for Craven County schools for $10,000 for the 21-22 school year. Lieutenant Billy Mathis first approached Darlene Brown, Executive Director with Partners in Education, about securing funding for the Drug Abuse Resistance Education, or DARE program, in early 2021. She saw a need in our schools to address drug and alcohol abuse. Because there aren't many drug prevention curricula available for schools to adopt, Lieutenant Mathis suggested expanded funding for the DARE program. The new curriculum emphasizes teaching detailed information about specific drugs and their negative effects based on prevention science. In addition, our DARE officers are being trained to teach the DARE curriculum, thereby putting a local human face on drug prevention in schools. These DARE officers do a fantastic job in our schools and make a difference in our students' lives every day. The teaching style of DARE has changed over the years and now highlights interaction with an emphasis on facilitation rather than a statistic presentation model. That is, instead of listening to a lecture, students spend most class time working in small cooperative learning groups, guided by a DARE officer as they apply a decision-making model to develop their own unique ways of positively addressing high-risk situations in their lives. Lieutenant Mathis says she envisions a world in which students everywhere are empowered to respect others and choose to lead lives free from violence, substance abuse, and other dangerous behaviors. Thank you to the Craven County ABC Board for funding this program, and Chairman Chaganon and Matt Knight for supporting our vision for this program.
Oh.
Thank you, guys.
That concludes the recognition portion.
While I'm going to my seat, Dr. Miller is going to do some other presentations tonight. I have an announcement to make, several in fact. Earlier on Tuesday, the personnel report was approved, so I'd like to make some leadership announcements this evening and congratulate some new leaders in our district. First, the new principal of Vanceboro Farm Life Elementary, and if you're here, will you please stand up so everyone can congratulate you. Miss Tiffany York. The new principal of Roger Bell New Tech Academy, Caroline Godwin. And finally tonight, effective November 1, the new Assistant Superintendent for Human Resource Services, Dr. Lakeisha Boone. For those who are already part of the Craven County School family, we say congratulations. And for those who are joining us, we say welcome aboard. And at this time, I ask Vice Chair Kimberly Smith to give us a summary of our work session on Tuesday.
Thank you, Chairman Boomer. We have now that we have allowed people back in with us, we have students at all of our board meetings and parents. This month, we were blessed to have Janessa I'm sorry. Help me with her name, Sonny. Thank you. And Sonny Munchell, could you stand up and recognize? They gave great feedback. They're from Carolina East. You know what I'm trying to say. Early College East in Havelock. Early College East in Havelock, and that's my hometown. I should have got that right. I want to hear about that. But you gave us great input. We want to recognize you. We have students every month that rotate through the school, so different areas recognize each time. We had a parent from James W. Smith. Is she here tonight by any chance? Elizabeth Romero. Well, all the students and the parents gave great. They did you proud, Mr. Quinn. So we thank you for participating with us. During the work session, it looks like sometimes we don't do a lot, but we do a lot of it on Tuesday. We do a lot of our work on Tuesday. And the items that we received is information only, were the organizational review, goal 1, the learner, and the goal 3, teaching and learning. We have received an update on low performing schools and their improvement plans. We received a presentation from Progar Environmental Solutions. We received COVID-19 updates and an equity audit update with IDRA and the progress and update on that as well. Items that we moved to the consent agenda for approval tonight, which if you picked up an agenda out there, there's a lot of items that are listed there that we'll all approve in one motion. Was a policy that's required by law, policy 4231, face coverings. Any item that moved to the consent agenda, we can pull off at any time if we want more discussion. Items that we approved on Tuesday, you guys should recognize some of those faces. Items approved were the interior door replacements at New Bern High School, chiller replacement at H.J. McDonald, chiller replacement at West Craven Middle. And also we approved, it's my mistake, I do the summary, and so I just have grace with me. We also approved the human resources report. I didn't get it on here, but we approved the HR report, and we'll approve the an addendum tonight. We also, in closed session, approved the safety plans for all schools and the reunification plans. The next is an advertisement. Just as a reminder, we are hiring. This is just one of our amazing teachers and her family, Jessica Burnett. She's a first grade teacher at Vanceboro Farm Life. And to remind everyone tonight that as we head toward especially public input, that we are CCS United. No matter how many things inspire passionate dialogue and advocacy tonight, we are on the same team.
All right, thank you. And at this time, we're going to ask Dr. Nishon, Nishon, stand up so the stakeholders can see who you are. This is Dr. Nishon Dawson, she's the Director of Human Resource. And she recommends that the Board of Education approve the Human Resource Report addendum for September. Can I get a motion for this?
So moved.
All right, it has been moved and second that we approve the Human Resource Report agenda for September. Like to get Superintendent Dr. Wenda Miller.
You gotta approve it.
Oh, okay. I want to get approved, right?
Yep.
All right, so it has been moved and second that we approve this. And so I want to, are you ready for your question? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Ayes have it. The agenda is a human resource agenda, resource report is approved. And at this time, Dr. Miller recommends that the Board of Education approve the board meeting minutes for the following meeting dates: August 2nd, 2021, which was a special called meeting minutes on safety protocols. August 17th, 2021, the board work session meeting minutes, and August 19th, 2021, board meeting minutes. So I'd like to get a motion that these minutes be approved.
So moved. Second.
All right, it has been moved and second that the August 2nd, 2021 special call meeting minutes be approved. August 17th, 2021 board work session minutes be approved. And August 19th, 2021 board meeting minutes be approved. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Ayes have it. These minutes are approved. Superintendent Dr. Wenda Miller also recommends that the Board of Education approve the closed session meeting minutes for the following meeting dates. It was August 17th, 2021. For the Board of Education closed session meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and second that August 17th, 2021 Board of Education closed session meeting be approved. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same, ayes has it.
Good job,
We got some
guys.
help over here. They're learning early. Do we have anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda? If not, we need to get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
It has been moved and second that the consent agenda be approved. Are you ready for the question? Those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same, ayes have it, minutes approved. And at this time, we will have the superintendent report.
I come to the board tonight with an update on our COVID protocols and other information related to that. I did present on Tuesday at the work session, and the board asked me to collect some other data, and we've done that. So I would like to call your attention to some of the updates. As I shared with you, because many of our audience members were not here, I did include some of the original slides to let folks see where we are. So as you know, we talked earlier when we were discussing masks about the state and being in yellow and orange and red. The state of North Carolina pretty much has stayed in red. So we are still in a high transmission state. The next slide shows the reported positives in Craven County schools for August, both for staff and students. And I'll just leave that there for a second so folks can see that. Again, they are our positives. Okay, now I want to discuss safety protocols, and we may have some additional dialogue tonight on this with the board. So currently we have in place to limit non-essential visitors or volunteers in school buildings. We have athletic events and band participation to follow established protocols, and that's been shared with them. The approval of academic-based field trips, which happened on Tuesday, which include clubs in middle and high school that are academic-related clubs. No overnight trips and no other events or activities inside of the building, such as cultural art events, performances, parent meetings, booster meetings, Title I nights, or after-school events. I will stop here and allow the board to have some dialogue because I know there's some conversation about this. These are the current protocols in place. So I'm open to some dialogue if you would like to review these and have any changes.
Ms. Muse?
So, since we have our FFA people here tonight from West Craven, the stuff that like FFA and DECA and that kind of stuff does their club, but it's also intercurricular. So it is part of their curriculum that they do this stuff. Right, guys? Right, guys. So that being said, they have some stuff that will be coming up, some competitions and different things like that, that will be overnight trips. And because it is part of their curriculum, it is actually part of their curriculum. For us to not allow them to go on that's a detriment to their coursework. So we need to look at those competitions that are part of their curriculum and their CTSOs.
Ms. Clark?
When we amended this, we specifically limited it to the leadership conference that was to happen on the 21st. Because we could control certain safety protocols. For us to continue to say overnight trips for the FFIA, rather, as well-intentioned as they may be, then we're going to have to look at other overnight trips as well. And I don't see how we can limit safely by doing that.
I'm sorry, Victor and then Kelly.
Well, in my opinion, any clubs or groups, if they have an event overnight, I personally don't have a problem with it. if we have masks in school, in my opinion, if they go on an overnight trip, when they return back to school and we're masked up, the protection and the reasoning for the mask should be in place and should work. So if it's part of the curriculum, me personally, I can agree with you on that one.
So, because I work in this, so Skills USA, STEM stuff, FFA, DECA, all that kind of stuff, that these courses, and it is part of their curriculum. If you allow certain things and you don't allow them to participate actively in their coursework, that's a civil right audit, and it's a civil rights violation according to their classwork. And you can call Shannon Baker at DPI and verify that with her. We just went through a civil rights audit in Onslow County, and it is a clear civil rights violation of the students' rights to not be able to participate actively in the coursework.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, before we accept any legal advice, I would ask that we hear it from our attorney,
Yes.
Mr. Gatchett.
I'd be happy to give you my legal advice in closed session.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I would ask.
And Chairman Boomer, if I may, the overnight trips would come to the board for approval anyway, so you would be able to look at those. You would just not tonight be giving a blanket okay to all the trips. So they would come to you for approval.
With all the protocols that they're planning to use.
Exactly.
Do we have any in the near future?
We've had field trip permissions
No,
put
over,
in.
the
that we-
overnight.
Dr. Diggs would be best to answer that one.
Because my only, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is that when we start venturing into overnight, we can somewhat control our environment. But we know, like, I'm sure we know, because most of us have been in school and taken overnight trips, that when you do that, you're not by yourself. So you're with others who may not have the same type of protocols in place that we have set. So I think we sometimes open ourselves up to receive some stuff that we may not be ready for, because everybody's house is not like Craven County Schools' house. So that's why I was asking for dates, so we can see how far out we have to look at it, to try to do what's best for our students.
I'd like to hear from the attorney and
Right.
then
Okay.
talk about dates.
All right, then I will continue on. Quarantine information is next. There was a memo sent out regarding safety precautions, and I will just review these in an effort to keep kids in the building and limit quarantines to students to avoid face-to-face interactions. These are just precautions you can take. They're not mandates, so I want to make that clear. But eating outside, maintaining a distance, these are things many of our schools are doing. Students eating in the cafeteria with guidelines such as leaving space between each student. Teachers wearing masks, of course, cleaning surfaces, school leaders monitoring the safety protocols as they walk through the building and through the classrooms, and seating charts in the classrooms and on buses. Those are some of the protocols we have in place to limit quarantines. Next, the quarantine protocols. Of course, if we have a confirmed positive, a symptomatic student, or someone's been exposed to a positive case, those would be reasons to quarantine. Exceptions would be someone fully vaccinated without symptoms, tested positive for COVID within the last 90 days and is not symptomatic, or when both students or both individuals, if it's not students, are wearing masks appropriately and consistently. That would be when the quarantine would not be imposed. Next, a lot of interest about this, instruction during quarantine. So the expectation is all assignments and playlists are uploaded and current in the learning management system. Teachers are proactively communicating with students and parents when a student is quarantined, starting at the beginning of the quarantine period, and that phone calls, emails, questions should be returned within 24 hours. So while students are out, they can keep up with their work. Next is instructional delivery. We still want to continue to deliver instruction while students are out. We've heard a lot about like the paper packets. So that we're not just to give paper packets and tell the students, we'll see you when you get back. That's not what we want for our students. And I want to make that clear. But I also want to say that it looks very different from classroom to classroom. So these are 3 ways our teachers are delivering instruction while students are out. The expectation for the assignment upload is for everyone. All teachers should be doing at least, and I know that some teachers are doing more than one of these things to keep students engaged in instruction. They have scheduled office hours where the students can Zoom in or call in and get individual help. They record lessons and upload them in the learning management system. Some teachers are recording them separate. Some teachers are actually recording their class when they teach and then later uploading that, which I've heard from some students is great, because for the students that even sat through the lesson, sometimes looking at it twice has helped them with their assignments. And then last, they offer the options for students to Zoom in during their assigned class period. All right, the COVID updates on mask. In accordance with a new law, it states that the board must adopt a policy for the use of face coverings by employees and students. And the law requires for that policy to only be in effect for the 21-22 school year. So the law also states that the public school unit shall vote at least once a month on whether the face covering policy should be modified. And the board did that on the consent agenda tonight when they adopted a face covering policy, which is what has already been in place, that everyone shall wear face coverings unless exempt. Next, the mask policy throughout the state. This is just a map of North Carolina and which districts are optional and which are required. And the updates next are what the board asked me to find out and kind of work through between Tuesday and today. So first, I reached out and we had a meeting with our 2 lead nurses. They're here somewhere. Oh, I always have to give a shout out to our lead nurses because they are working way beyond the normal school day, way beyond the 9 to 5 day. They're working on Saturdays and Sundays with a commitment to keep our kids in our classrooms and our teachers in front of our classrooms. So
Dr. Miller, excuse me, will you go back to that map and explain to
absolutely
to everyone what that red and blue represents?
I will.
So because some of them can't see.
So this is the map of all the North Carolina school systems, local education agencies, LEA, school districts. The blue means that the masks are required, and the red counties or districts means that the masks are optional.
And that's 115 district.
Okay. All right. So a shout out again, I'd like to just say thank you to our lead nurses who are working every day to work with families to keep our students in school. So I want to say personally, thank you. So the lead nurses and myself met with the county health director, Scott Harrelson. It was a very productive meeting. We talked about ways we could partner with the health department and work together to keep our students in the building. It was interesting to hear from folks with a health background because my education background, I'm learning a lot about this stuff, way more than I thought I'd ever know. But Mr. Harrelson did indicate, based on all data and looking at the Delta variant, that he's hoping, and we are too, that we've kind of hit our peak, and he's estimating in 3 weeks that we're going to have lots fewer cases. And of course, that will be great because the fewer cases we have, the more we can keep kids and teachers in the building. So that was very promising. We are going to work with Mr. Harrelson. He has committed some resources and also some staffing to help us with contact tracing. So that was promising. And we're going to continue to reach out to him. And we do so weekly or more now to partner with him and get advice. And anytime we come up with a protocol, he has delegated the authority to quarantine. We talked about that today to our nurses, and he approved the quarantine process. So we talked through that with him again today. So next, the benchmark data on contact tracing in the Southeast region. Ms. Wagner did that, and all of the districts are using either their nurses and their school administrators, a combination of that. And Wayne County is actually working to hire clerical folks in each school that would help the nurses with those telephone calls. So, and we're looking into that, which brings us to the next bullet. We are looking to use some of our ESSER funds for contact tracers. We have one bid. We will be getting several more bids. And these will be folks that are trained and have a system already set up that will come in when we have a positive case, and they will be the ones reaching out to families and having conversations with them so that our nurses can do hearing screenings and all the other things our nurses do. So we're looking forward to that partnership as well.
Will you explain ESSER fund for everybody, please?
Those are funds that were given specifically to school districts to help with learning loss during COVID, to provide additional resources. And the intent is to make an educational impact on our students. So we know by keeping them in school, that's going to have an impact. And we're also going to do lots of things with ESSER funds, but this is one of the ways to have that contact tracer reach out to families quickly, figure out the quarantine period, and to get them back in school as quickly as possible. As you're aware, we have opted into testing. So our nurses, in addition to hearing screenings, they'll be doing actual offering to our families COVID testing so that folks don't have to go to their primary care physician, to the health department or other places, that they will be able to provide that service. And within 24 hours, we'll be able to contact the family and let them know if it's a negative test so that they can get their student back in school. So we're excited about that as well. In addition, they will provide, when we opted into testing, the opportunity for additional monies to increase the day for our nurses. They're not going to increase the day for these nurses because they would have to pay them 24/7. But we do have nurses like at 30 hours, and we're going to increase them so that they can be there from bell to bell. So that's one of the other things we're going to do. Lastly, I also wanted to say, I talked with the chairman of the county commissioners today, Mr. Jones, reached out to me. We had a very productive conversation, and I told him I was going to mention tonight how excited I am that he personally called and said he is committed to partnering with the commissioners and the Board of Education to do whatever it's going to take to keep the schools open. That is our commitment. That is their commitment. And he wanted to make that clear. And I really appreciate that commitment, because this is a collaborative situation where we're doing, he's taking educational initiatives, I'm taking health initiatives, but I do have to say we all have a common goal, and that's to keep schools open and students in our building. So it was really nice to hear that from him and to hear his commitment and the commitment of the county commissioners. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them tonight for their continued support. And that is the update I have for you, and kind of a summary, and the nurses are here as well if you have any questions or comments for me or for our lead nurses.
I have a comment. I'm sorry.
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Kelly.
I was just wondering if we had had any real discussion about like parameters, timelines. So when some relief from the health department should be coming to take some burden off of our folks in the school system. So that way, you know, if so they can actually focus on like kids in school and their needs and not just COVID.
Okay, and our commitment, our conversation was a 6-week period. And as I said, we hope we will have a steep decline by that time, and we're going to commit the resources for 6 weeks, along with 3 personnel from Mr. Harrelson. And at 6 weeks, we're going to, our goal is to kind of move the contact tracing more over to the health department. And then we're going to take on some of the COVID testing. So we're going to kind of switch some responsibilities so that our nurses can do their other duties as well as start COVID testing.
So by next month's board meeting, we should have a real transition plan in place, because that would give them about 2 weeks left to go until they receive the contact tracing portion of our issues.
That is correct. And we'll have a better indication of what our numbers look like and what that transition plan would be.
Great.
That's a good question. Thank you.
That's great.
I just have a comment if you want my hand up.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, I really applaud the way that you approach this and the way that Scott Harrelson and the county commissioners met you halfway, because school systems cannot operate in a silo. We can't, you know, we're a crucial part of the economic development. We've never had a pandemic before, not in my lifetime anyway. It's something new for all of us. Everybody's trying to find their way through it. but we cannot find our way through it alone.
It's right.
We cannot operate in a silo. We've got to do it together. So I greatly, greatly appreciate the way you approach this as a united front with the health department and the county commissioners.
Thank you. It's a partnership.
Yes.
Right.
I have one comment to make. Because I don't want these students to go home tonight, or the ones who are listening in. If you all can't, we don't know what the results are going to be, but if you can't do an overnight trip, that's not going to interfere with your work that you do in your courses. Those teachers would have to find some way to accommodate you, just because if you cannot go on those overnight trips. So I don't want y'all to think that if I don't go on an overnight trip, that my grade is going to be affected. It will not be affected, because you won't be able to participate in your competition at the competition level. But whatever you do in your coursework, those grades are not going to be affected. So I don't want you all, I know how, we can get excited about stuff, because I know you're very conscientious about your grades, your GPA, and especially your seniors, because all of that is important. That will not affect your GPA. And certainly, after we get legal advice, we're gonna look into all of it anyway. But I don't want you to go home tonight thinking, oh my God, if we can't go on our field trips, or we can't do that to stay overnight, then our grades are going to decline. They will not decline.
And we're going to hope that he's right. And in a few weeks, the numbers are going to start going down.
Right.
And your trips are far enough off that
We want you to
in
go.
yellow and
Right.
everything will be good to go.
And I hope they heard that their trip for their leadership has been approved.
Yes.
And that they're clear to go and participate in that. I don't know if you had been given that word, but that was approved. That's
Have
all
you
I have.
finished, Dr. Miller? Ma'am, thank you for your report. And the moment that these children have been waiting for, and some of the parents, because I know they're ready to go, it is break time. Yeah, 10-minute break.
Okay. Let's get.
Okay. I call this meeting of the Craven County Board of Education back to order, please. All right. We'll begin the second portion of the meeting with our public input. Ms. Smith, do we have anybody who signed up for public input?
We do, Chairman Boomer. The timer will go as each speaker starts. It's got 5 minutes. We have 30 minutes allotted total. So if you don't want to use your whole 5 minutes, certainly leave the time for someone else if you'd like to do that. So our first speaker is Michael Epps. I'm very sorry if I got that wrong.
That's all right.
It's still Michelle.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Michelle Epps. I'm a citizen of New Bern and a fifth generation educator who you might remember spoke on the subject of masks at last board meeting. Since the board indicated at that section that although the public had made some interesting comments, members are used to relying on the same trusted sources that they have relied on for many years, I will not waste our time tonight presenting additional scientific data. I will say, however, that I do not understand why educational leaders wouldn't want to conduct at least the same level of independent research and apply the same critical thinking skills and common sense to those findings that they would expect of our students, instead of blindly trusting some source from above, especially when doing so involves such serious infringements on individual liberties. So instead tonight, I would like to simply ask the board some questions. 1, has the Board of Education made it clear to everyone that the decision to quarantine based on school nurses' recommendations is completely voluntary? Have you explained, number 2, have you explained that the state health director and local health director are the only ones legally empowered to exercise quarantine and isolation authority, and only when other reasonable means for correcting the problem have been exhausted and no less restrictive alternative exists? That school nurses do not have and cannot legally be given that authority. 3, has the board told families and staff that it is the health department's responsibility and solely the health department's responsibility to A, confirm the positive test result, B, initiate the contact tracing, C, ensure that proper control measures have been given and are being complied with, and D, inform families of their legal right to challenge that order, any order in court. Number 4, has the county school district received any formal quarantine orders from either the state health director or local health director during the current academic year? 5, how much of the district's funds and how many of its personnel have been assigned to do the health department's contact tracing for it? 6, have you clarified to families that principals and physicians are required to report positive cases to the local health director within 24 hours and that labs that process COVID-19 tests are required to report both positive and negative test results to the Division of Public Health? 7, will the district allow students to return to classes if their families elect not to follow the nurse's recommendations? And can the board assure families that such students will not suffer any punitive measures for choosing not to comply? 8, why does the tone of the letters going out to families seem to suggest that nurses have the authority to place someone in quarantine and that these requests are mandatory? Is it because you have been misinformed, or are you being intentionally misleading? Number 9, if the board believes that you yourselves are being misinformed by your trusted sources, why do you continue to consider the local health department as a reliable source of information? Did you not find it questionable when in his July 30th COVID letter to the community, Director Scott Harrelson talked about the presence of the Delta variant in Craven County when, to my knowledge, neither the health department nor the local hospitals are even testing for variants, since such genetic testing would entail the sample being sent to a special lab and taking potentially weeks to process? Furthermore, were you not concerned that Mr. Harrelson discussed quarantining as if it only applied to the unvaccinated when public health law of North Carolina, as presented in Chapter 130A of the North Carolina statutes, does not make such distinction? 10, has it occurred to any of you that if you can't trust some of the direction coming from the health department, then perhaps you should consider whether you can trust some of the direction coming from your other reliable sources, especially those like the CDC with potentially huge profit motives? And finally, 11, have you considered the board's legal duty laid out in General Statute 115C-47 to, quote, provide students with the opportunity to receive a sound education? Given Tuesday's performance report to the board, which indicated that student learning has suffered significant decreases across all grade levels and subject matter, why did the board waste precious time allowing staff to congratulate themselves for these declines being less than those suffered in some other districts, instead of preparing to report to the public tonight on how you intend to remedy the situation, especially given your proclivity for recommending quarantines? In conclusion, I would just like to say that it absolutely breaks my heart to see these young children muzzled here in this room tonight. They're beautiful, they're precious, beyond measure, and it breaks my heart. I appreciate your time and thank you.
Thank you.
Remember, our next speaker is Nicole Pierce.
So I am a parent of three. I have one that has graduated from New Bern High, one that is a junior, and one that is in fifth grade. Also went to Craven County Schools myself. Miss Boomer was my principal. And I have been a nurse here in Craven County for 16 years. My intention today was to come and speak about the mask. However, some things have come to light that are really troublesome to me, and I have a few questions I'd like to ask you guys in regards to volunteer and process and the type of people that can be around our children in a school setting. If you pull up, and I have packets, if anybody would like one or will want to see what I'm referring to. Anybody else?
We'll each take one.
Do I?
We would like, each one would like to have one, thank you.
Just put them there, we can pass them down so you don't
I
use
need
your
one
time.
of them, but hopefully I have one.
We'll make copies.
Yeah, I'm gonna hang on to this one if that's okay. And I want to be real clear, I made packets, I didn't want to mention names. But if you look at the volunteer process for Craven County Schools, background checks and thorough background checks are done to identify, quote, for volunteers who may pose an unacceptable risk to students or to the school system. Volunteers whose prior history include criminal history, demonstrates a risk to the safety or well-being of students will be denied participation in the volunteer program. A conviction of a plea of no contest to a felony, a conviction of a plea to no contest to any misdemeanor that indicates the volunteer may pose a threat to the integrity of the school environment, or a pattern of criminal charges, even if these charges have been dismissed, which may cause concern for the volunteer and may pose a threat to the integrity or safety of the school environment. Now that means as me, let's say I was a troublesome teenager in my early 20s, I might have had problems. Well, guess what? Doesn't matter. I can't go volunteer and I can't be around my children. Doesn't matter if I've changed my ways. It doesn't matter if I've made myself better. So my question to you is are board members held, because we know teachers are, the school bus drivers, are background checks being done on all of the board members here? And if they're not, why not? Because you guys are in a role of leadership. You're in a role that our children are watching. And quite frankly, if somebody has charges, unfortunately, like I found on a particular board member here, and you can look it up, it's public record. I went and paid the $25 and went and got his official thing. For things such as resisting arrest, being disruptive, aiding and abetting, intent to sell cocaine, marijuana charges, and probation. Is that somebody that you want around your children? Because I don't. I don't care if it was 20 years ago. Some of these, he was close to 30. I don't care if it was 5 years ago. I think that they should be held accountable to the same standards that we are held to as volunteers and as parents. And I tell you, I ran reports on each one of you. But when I come across this, I was sickened, just sickened. Carrying a concealed weapon, marijuana, failure to notify DMV, resisting a public officer, aiding and abetting, possessing marijuana again, operating a vehicle with no insurance and expired registration and tags, among others. And yes, some of these were dismissed by the DA, but it doesn't matter. The policy states even if dismissed, if there's a pattern of criminal history, especially if it's violent. I also have several friends that work for the New Bern PD. And when you pull this individual up in their system, it says proceed with caution, severe history of violence. And I have an issue with that. And I want to know why these things aren't being done when you guys are put in a position of leadership, why these checks are not being done thorough enough. Because I'm not okay with it. And I'm pretty sure after tonight, there's going to be a lot of other parents that are not okay with it. We're denied access to our children if we've got a record or a history, but you guys can be board members and you're still around the children. You guys did the workshop the other day. And I just feel that it should be held to those same standards. And I was going to speak about the mask, but I felt this took precedence. The safety of our children takes precedence. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, I know it's not protocol.
No.
I gotta respond to one because it's on the
Victor,
camera. I have to.
Victor, you can, Victor, we got
hold
the
on.
protocol.
Can you please let me respond? Or can you
Nah,
read?
you
Can you read what I just sent you?
We got somebody else's, this
All right,
public
all right.
input, okay?
We can discuss it. We do have a place in the agenda. for
I want
discussion.
all of them here when I discuss it though.
Okay,
Okay.
you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Chairman Boomer, our next speaker is Scott. Is it Farrar? How do you say your last name?
Farrar, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Scott. I live in Craven County with my wife and 3 children. I'm not an infectious disease expert or doctor, but I do have a degree in aerospace engineering from the Naval Academy, which means I can read, I can do detailed analysis, and I can draw rational evidence-based conclusions. Additionally, I have over 18 years been able to do an inherently dangerous job very safely. During that time, I've accumulated a lot of training and practical experience in risk analysis and risk mitigation. My goal here tonight is to help persuade the board that masking school children is not an effective mitigation strategy and to demonstrate why it does not work. For those that are truly interested in science, not the science of narrative parroting or manipulating snippets of poorly conducted data analysis, there are numerous peer-reviewed studies dating from well before the pandemic began and a handful of studies conducted during the pandemic that demonstrate masks, cloth masks specifically, have at best a negligible impact on COVID transmission, as demonstrated by the sloppy Bangladesh study, and at worst can even increase transmission as demonstrated in the Vietnam randomized clinical trial of over 1,600 medical workers comparing cloth masks, medical masks, and a control group. It is important to note here that not one single peer-reviewed study has demonstrated masking to be statistically effective in reducing the spread of COVID. Additionally, any so-called evidence that attributed to these non-scrutinized studies is cherry-picked. We've been at this for over 18 months now, and there are no actual studies that show that masks work. Why is that? On February 2021, a study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences concluded that COVID transmission primarily occurs from aerosol spread, exhausted, exhaled aerosol, in which viral load increases with time, with age, and with obesity, i.e. not school children. This means surface transmission and large droplet transmission are largely insignificant in terms of spreading COVID, ironically, what all the current mitigation strategies are based on. Another study concluded that aerosol spread was responsible for north of 85% of transmission. So why does this matter? Because knowing that alone, one can hypothesize that a cloth mask cannot possibly be effective. Small droplets less than 5 microns or aerosol droplets do not fall quickly. These particles are aerodynamic and find the path of least resistance, i.e. around or through most barriers. Exposure is based primarily on time and viral load. These small droplets can remain suspended in air for hours, and thus transmission within rooms is uniform. Put another way, an indoor room like a typical school classroom or this one, uniform exposure exists. Read that as risk, which is why social distancing by and large is ineffective. So it is effective mitigation. Improved ventilation, HEPA filters, UV sterilization, being outside. What is not effective mitigation? Cloth masks, face shields, barriers between students, and physical distancing in the classroom. This narrative has the result of luring people into a false sense of safety. Wearing a mask and social distancing might make you feel safer, but they don't. Relying on these strategies for increased safety actually contributes to COVID spread. Now, having said all that, if peer-reviewed scientific studies are not sufficient to persuade you, perhaps empirical data is more convincing. The best example, and there are many, is to compare the daily new deaths per million curves between Germany and Sweden over the past year. The two countries share many similarities, including vaccination rates of near 60%, and the curves are nearly identical. There is one glaring difference, however. Roughly 85% of Germany's population wore masks over the year, many including N95 masks. In Sweden, less than 10%. So what did masking up have to do with COVID deaths? Virtually nothing. If neither actual science nor empirical evidence resonate, and perhaps I can offer one final practical example to help demonstrate why imposing impressive mask mandates on small children does not improve anyone's safety. I referenced earlier that aerosol spread is what researchers have concluded overwhelmingly contributes to COVID infection. I also referenced the relative size of particles for suspended aerosols. Do you notice similar size and behaves in a similar way? Smoke does. Many of you are old enough, as am I, to remember when restaurants had dedicated smoking sections. If not, maybe just replace cigarette smoke with marijuana and you can understand the comparison. Anyway, my family would always sit in the non-smoking section because my mom couldn't stand the smell of cigarette smoke, and she would sit as far away from it as possible. Most of the time, it didn't matter because if people were smoking, guess what? It still smells like smoke. Now imagine you're sitting in a smoking section or near a smoking section wearing a cloth mask or a surgical mask for that matter, and we'll even assume that it's actually properly fitting and worn correctly. A big assumption. Guess what? It will still smell like cigarette smoke. Same as for the rest of your family not wearing a mask. Might take a few seconds longer, but it smells the same. That is COVID spread. That is why masking children and forcing them to sit 6 feet apart is a fool's errand if you're expecting to actually influence the outcome. I hope this provides you with some data to consider both in terms of subjecting children to ineffective and abusive masking policies, and also what this information means for the absolutely absurd quarantine protocols that you have based on no rational scientific evidence. I implore you to support the children mentally, emotionally, and physically. Stop scaring them, free their smiles and their minds. Thank you.
Chairman, our next speaker is Lauren Gardner.
Good evening. I am Lauren Gardner. I'm a parent in the school district. I'm here to address concerns regarding the mask policy, which it seems like we all are. On September 3rd, you, as in the school board, got an email stating that the mask mandate currently in place violates federal law. Again, I'm going to remind you why. On April 18th, 2020, the US FDA issued an EUA authorizing the use of masks for the general public. Then in a statement dated April 24th, 2020, the FDA stated in a letter reading, "No printed matter relating to the use of the authorized face masks may represent or suggest that such a product is safe or effective for the representation." Oh, sorry, I'm just like a little nervous. I'm going to start over. No printed matter relating to the use of the authorized face masks may represent or suggest that such product is safe or effective for the prevention or treatment of patients during the COVID-19 pandemic. So with that said, by requiring our children to wear masks, the BOE is administering a medical device. In doing so, you are subject to laws pertaining to medical devices authorized under an EUA. Masks are a device. Title 21 of the US Code Section 360 BBB 3 states that individuals to whom the product is administered are informed of the option to accept or refuse administration of the product. Again, masks are a product and I have not been offered a choice. So I'm guessing the BOE found this information compelling as you elected to have your lawyer, who's here tonight, respond to my family rather than provide a coherent response backed by the chairman. In that response received, the law office attempts to divorce the mandate from the law by stating that the FDA's letter regarding the mask EUA does not contain any requirement that members of the general public be given notice of the option to accept or refuse the use of the device. Again, I haven't been offered that choice. So I would like an explanation as to how, just because that letter doesn't contain such a statement, that makes the device, being the mask, exempt from federal law. Again, I just want to say, we need an explanation as to how the lack of a statement in any medium exempts a federal entity from abiding by federal law. The law office did not provide an explanation for this either. I guess rather twisted words and skated around the law in question, but I guess that's what lawyers are for. So whether you agree with masking kids or not, it doesn't really matter. You're violating the law. The facts are the facts. And right now, today, you are liable for ongoing damages to the health of our children. Thank you for your time.
Dean, okay. Our next speaker, Chairman Boomer, is Life Dean.
First off, I'd like to say good evening, greetings, salutations. How's everybody doing?
Good evening.
I am honored to be here. I am a 21-year Marine Corps veteran, an international speaker. I run a prison program in South Carolina. I'm a culture consultant for a charter school. I'm over a decade as an intense therapeutic foster parent. But today, I am here because we've started a youth program in the greater 5 Point area of New Bern in a building called The Village, and the program is called Life 3. I wanted to actually introduce myself. I don't know how that works. And I'm really excited to be here. We have an idea and an ideal that's been tested. We've done this in numerous settings with numerous children with the same results. We believe that we have the ability to lead you forward through education, expression, and empowerment. And that focuses on the total child aspect. The thing that we're lacking is children. So I figured the best place to come to show support and also say that we're advocate for whatever it is that you need us to do in that area. We understand the dilemmas of distance learning. We also understand the problems that's plaguing that community, and we are here to serve. We are here to work, both feet in the pavement and ready to go. So I really just wanted to come say thank you for everything you do. I want to extend myself as a resource. We've given out brochures. I just need to connect with schools in the area that actually feed into that population of children. And we are definitely here to work with scalable and measurable results. So that's my whole purpose for coming out. I see y'all have a lot of business to do here tonight. I do not envy your position because I know either way the pendulum swings, there's going to be somebody else in the room. So I just pray God leads, guides, directs, covers you all, and you do what's in the best judgment for a community that you serve. I want to leave with this. Malik El-Shabazz once said that education is the passport to the future. Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So today I just came to say that we're preparing our children for a future that they don't even know exists. And we just need your assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we still good on time? Okay, great. Our next speaker is Deborah Compton.
Good evening, and first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity to present my case. On August 24th, Tuesday, I had a really bad toothache when I came in from school. And I suffered for a little while, and I finally, before I went to bed, found an old bottle of hydrocodone, which I took one. There was 2 in the bottle. I took one because it was prescribed for pain. It didn't say how long to take the medicine. It just said take as needed for pain. It was prescribed to me in 2016. I did not know this. I didn't look at the dates and what time it was. All I know is I was in excruciating pain, so I took a hydrocodone. I gladly admit that. Well, not gladly, but I admit that I did take a hydrocodone. Okay, so I went to bed, got a good night's sleep. On August 25th, which was Wednesday, I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning with a very excruciating pain in my tooth. So I took the last pill that was in my bottle, and I went to sleep and had a good night's sleep. Okay, I know that hydrocodone only lasts 4 hours in your system. So by 6 o'clock, when I got up to drive the high school bus, I knew that the effects of the drugs was already out of my system. I had a little bumper scraper. I backed into a pole, just scraped my tire against the cement surrounding the light pole at the high school. Didn't damage the bus, didn't damage the pole, either one. And so the girls that was standing around that saw it happen said, well, you didn't hurt the bus, you didn't hurt the light pole. I wouldn't even say nothing. I don't believe in that. I believe honesty is the best policy. So I called Miss Carson and I let her know what was going on. And she told me not to worry about it. She would get to the bottom of it. And she went out and looked at the bus. The bus was fine. The light pole was fine. Everything was fine. So she called me about 10:30 and asked me if I would go and take a drug test. Well, of course, I'm not a drug addict. I don't do drugs. I'm against drugs. But in that case, I did take it, and I do admit to it. I'm not saying I was right, not saying I was wrong. All I know is I was in pain. I'm not in pain now because I got it took care of. But I did take the 2 pills I had at home. Okay, I drove every morning the first day at school and on Friday afternoon for Rover C. On August 27th, around 5:30, Dr. Dale from CCHC called me and let me know that my test had come back positive for oxycodone, which, if you look up on the Mayo Clinic site, oxycodone and hydrocodone are basically the same pill, and they can come back one in the other. I looked it up. Okay, I was shocked since I've never, ever, I'm 59 years old and I have never done drugs in my entire life. So imagine my shock when that came back. I was positive for oxycodone. And I'm like, no way, that's got to be wrong. It has to be a false positive test, but they would not issue me a new drug test. And I begged and pleaded. I don't care if I lose my bus, just don't let me lose my babies, because my babies mean the world to me. I've been with them 4 years, and I have been attached to the parents. I have been attached to the children, and I miss them. I haven't worked since last Wednesday. I haven't been around my children, and I am just devastated. I've got to be around my kids. I know. Okay, September the 7th, Dr. Haskell asked me to report to Central Services to talk to Dr. Dawson, which I did. As a result of the drug test, when the absolute assurance, I lost my CDLs, which resulted in my losing my bus. I told them I had a prescription for hydrocodone, which I had taken for pain. They asked me to go by my doctor's office and pick that prescription up, which I did, and I presented it to them. On September the 8th, Thursday, Wednesday, I went by my doctor's office. I picked up the prescription, old though it was, and I brought it back and I presented it to Dr. Dawson. And on Thursday, since it would take a long time to get the results back, Dr. Bracey, whatever his name is, took a look at the note and told me that I had a prescription for hydrocodone, and the test came back as oxycodone. I tried to tell him they're one and the same according to the Mayo Clinic. I did extensive research. I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize my job with my children. I have worked in Craven County Schools for 13 years, never come back with a positive drug test until now. And I'm just heartbroken. All this time, I thought that a person was innocent until proven guilty. But that day, I walked in on Wednesday, September the 8th, when I walked into HR and I sat down, I was looked at like I was the worst criminal in the world, in my opinion. It broke my heart because I know you're innocent until proven guilty. That has always been the case in the law in our wonderful country. I mean, you're innocent. I think I should be given a second chance.
Okay, I'm sorry, but your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Amber Dill.
Good evening, board members. My name is Amber Dill. I'm a healthcare worker and have 2 boys that attend Craven County schools. I'm here as a concerned parent and citizen of Craven County. I'm asking that the school board reeval its COVID quarantine protocols using guidance from the ABC Science Collaborative. On September 2nd, my son was placed on quarantine for 10 days. This was just the 2nd week of school. The COVID exposure occurred on his bus, so along with approximately 40 other kids, he was sent home. And according to the other ABC Science Collaborative, none of these kids should have been sent home. By day 5 of post-exposure, I could take my son to get a PCR test, barring he still had no symptoms. This was yet another hurdle to jump and inconvenience to find a place that could give me a PCR test and hope that my results came back in time for him to attend school. If not, the 10 days would be up and we would be out of quarantine and he could attend in person. Parents are left to scramble with a child who is sent home and to do work on Canvas. My son had very few assignments and some teachers gave him no work at all. And we had also just recently moved from Fayetteville 3 months ago, and my son was just getting used to a new school and making new friends. The learning loss and financial burdens that have occurred last year cannot be repeated. We will never make up for this learning loss at this rate. Contact tracing is not working as it should, and that is to only contact those students that have had 15 minutes of exposure with no mask on in a 24-hour time frame. This is all outlined by the ABC Science Collaborative, which was conducted specifically for North Carolina schools. The research was done in our own backyard by Duke University and Duke Clinical Research. These findings showed that mask wearing around COVID positive people they did not need quarantine. Currently, we are functioning under a COVID policy that keeps healthy kids out of in-person learning. We have not even made it to the winter months, and under our current protocol, I foresee several students and teachers being unnecessarily quarantined. In a 1-week period, we have already had approximately 1,600 people, 1,400 of those students and about 200 of those teacher and faculty. This can't continue, or we will have no one attending our public schools. And most importantly, no one will be learning. This virus is here to stay, and we must learn to live and function with it. Constant quarantines of healthy kids is getting us nowhere. I'm beyond arguing about masks and debating. Last year, it was all about teachers and protecting them. I don't begrudge them this. Now that they've been able to get vaccinated if they choose, it's time to focus on our mission of teaching our kids as stated in the Craven County Schools website. I ask that you review the ABC Science Collaborative that was specifically designed for this purpose of COVID and the rationale behind these quarantines and revamp our quarantining protocols. Thank you.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you for your public comments, and at this time, and I would like to remind everyone that when the board is talking, there should be no comments from anyone. The board is not allowed to make comments when you're giving your public input, and we're asking you not to make any comments while the board is making their comments as well. If you should be, and if you can't abide by this rule, Mr. Lucas is standing over there. If you can't abide by that rule, I will ask him to escort you out. I hope that does not happen. We are all adults. We're all mature adults. We are all here for the same reason, to make the best decision for our children. And so that's what we're going to do. We're not going to disrupt this meeting. I know everybody's excited and everybody wants something to say, but that is not possible. We've heard the public input, and now our board has an opportunity to respond to what has been said. And those of you who responses are not given tonight because they were lengthy, we will make sure that you do get a response in writing. Mr. Doug.
Well, before I put myself first, I want us to respond to the lady right there that was speaking about her situation. But I do have, we can't? Okay. I'm so new.
Because we should clarify that that's because
you.
it's a personnel issue.
It's a personnel issue.
Well, I do have to respond to this. I stand on everything that we have on this paper except the one charge, and I pass it to you all, and I won't mention it on the microphone. I was contacted by New Bern Police Department, and this can be verified too, ma'am. I was contacted by them probably about 8 years ago, and that is 2002, and they told me that this was on my name, and they knew it wasn't true, and they would take care of it and not to worry about it. And I didn't. And it states what you see that she can't see, but you all see what was highlighted. So that's the only one I'm concerned about. All this other stuff, when I was 18 and 19 and 20, I stand on that. And I think anybody else in here has a background that you probably wouldn't want to be put on blast. But me personally, I can take it. You can shake your head and not like it. That's fine. But I will tell you all this. I wasn't gonna run, but now I'm gonna. So you got some more work to do if you want me out. I can tell you that. And I'm not threatened by you.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed by anything that I ever did.
All right.
Nothing.
Okay, Mr. Doug, go on. Have you finished?
Not really. I could keep going.
No.
But I'm
Okay.
not ashamed by anything I've ever done. And I'm sure many of you have some things in your background. You're just not sitting where I am, but I can stand under it. I mean, like I said, I'm built for it. So, you could bring all of that on. You won't find anything else because I'm an upright person. I'm a good person. And everybody that knows me knows that. And my past is my past. But for you to bring up a felony that I do not have speaks volumes of you, because I voted for a mask you're gonna take time out your life to go look up my record, to try to embarrass me, which you can't do, first of all. But I'm sure so many felons in this world, in our community, that has done more good than me or you ever could. So for you to try to dismiss a person, which I'm not a felon, because they have a felony, I believe is despicable of you. Because people can pay the debt to society and can be a productive citizen in the society which they live. And if you don't believe it, then you have a problem with yourself.
I'm gonna go ahead and escort myself.
Bye.
It's about the policy.
Bye.
If you're gonna write a policy.
Mr. Lucas, we escort, please.
You follow the policy.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
We're gonna see about you being on.
I'm smiling under this mask.
Against policy, your own.
Have a good day, ma'am. Take care. Seems like you're a little upset, but I'm not.
Your ass.
I am. I'm a big one.
Okay, she should be allowed back in.
No, she shouldn't come back in.
Yeah, she should not be allowed back in.
Okay, any other board? Thank you, Mr. Dole.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
I don't have any specific comments to individuals. The personnel decision, everybody in the room watching that just needs to know that by law, we cannot comment on personnel issues. That's, sympathetic as we are, we just cannot comment on personnel issues. And the mask, we hear everybody, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this, but I don't even know. I'm almost at the point of begging, but it's not gonna do any good. As I said earlier, we cannot operate the school system as a silo. Everything that we do affects the economy of our community, it affects the housing department of our community, it affects our businesses, it affects our health department. We are all connected. And this is not what we want the world to see about Craven County as we head into an impending BRAC. It's not. So I greatly value everybody giving input. And I'm just asking that we do it in a respectful and a productive way, so that as people start looking at our community as a place to live, as a place to invest in our military base, as a place to invest in our future together, that this is not the community that they see, because this is a small representation of our community. We are not perfect as a school system. We have a lot of work to do. We're the first to tell you that. But guys, we've got to do better at working together, or we're going to have bigger problems than wearing masks.
No, ma'am, you cannot. Anyone else? Ms. Muse?
So it's no secret, I had COVID last week, so did my husband, right? I'm vaccinated, he's not, my daughter's not sick. Okay? We took the monoclonal therapy, we healed up really well. Treatment is key. It's an example at my house. I lived it, right? I don't mask, guys, except for when I come here. The district I work in, masks are mandatory. So if I leave my office, I have to mask now. If I go to Lowe's, you will see me without a mask. If I go to Walmart, you will see me without a mask. If I go to tap that tonight after this board meeting, you will see me without a mask, right? Because I don't believe it. But as Mr. Ipock pointed out to me this morning, I am only one vote on this board. And then he hung up on me. So I am only one vote on this board. I do believe that masks should be optional for everybody. If you want to wear it, wear it. If you don't, don't. If you want a vaccine, get a vaccine. I try to see everybody's point of view. I also know that our businesses are not being run like government agencies are either. Because if private businesses were ran the way government agencies are run, nobody would be in business. Right? So I am in fact only one vote. But every time a mask vote comes up, I will vote for optional masks for everybody.
And I like to make it clear that none of us have but one vote. Only each board member only has one vote. Mr. Alpert, you had something you wanted to say?
No, I did have the conversation with Mrs. Muse this morning. She pointed out to me that I was superfluous on the board and served no purpose. I added that the things that I'd been doing this week related to school boarding, which has been all week long. So I don't really owe an explanation to Mrs. Muse. My point about one vote does apply to the school board. However, I was talking about the general vote. In the general vote, I won my seat. And I have a large group, as many of us do, that is very supportive of the actions that we're taking. And I try to live up to their expectation of me. So if I was a little abrupt to Mrs. Muse this morning, I apologize to them, not to Mrs. Muse, because I felt like she was out of line with what she was saying. The other point is, I hear often from people talking about transparency, but when you call and try to negotiate a position prior to a meeting that is not at the public table, right there where y'all are sitting, and right here where I'm sitting looking at you, then that's business outside the context of the public meeting. And I don't consider that to be appropriate. You can tell me what you think, but you can't try to coerce me to change my position on anything. So that is the reason that we came to the end of our discussion. And when she suggested that I was superfluous on the school board, I thought it was probably time to end the conversation. I didn't hang up. I said, well, that ends our conversation. Thank you. And then I hung up. But that's to set the record straight. I'm not here to aggrandize myself. I'm a member on the board that spends a lot of time trying to aggrandize herself and be the voice for all of us. I was very upset Tuesday morning when she went after Scott Harrelson, who's doing his job, who is a partner of ours, who we work very closely together with. And he's trying to navigate the same situation we're trying to navigate. If you'll look at that map, there are 114 now, I believe it was Harnett County reverse position, school systems that independently at their board tables decided that masking is what is needed to keep schools open. That's our intent, is to keep schools open, to keep students in front of their teachers and not go back to the virtual situation. And when we get this contact tracing, when we get the diagnostic testing in place mid-month, that will allow another avenue to keep kids in school, get them back in school. So I'm looking forward to that. But I enjoy my service, and I enjoy all of those that support me in it, as I know they support many other board members in the work that they're doing.
Anyone else have any more comments?
Actually, I do. So I didn't try to convince Mr. IPOC on anything this morning. I was talking to him about the ESSER monies that we have, which are used for filling educational gaps compared to the funding, the emergency COVID funding that the county has also received, which is used to handle public health needs. So I wasn't trying to coerce Mr. IPOC into anything. I was trying to explain the difference. I've also done some benchmarking with some other districts, and their obligation to their school system has not been what our school nurses have been. Their school nurses' primary obligation is to the actual students that they attend, not a public health crisis. I mean, they partner with their health department. I want to partner with our health department too. However, it came out of Nurse Amy's own mouth the other day that they received an email from our county health department that said, we need you guys to do this because we're not going to. So it's fallen on them. So I made the comment during the work session. So this has now become a 2,000-pound boulder that's rolling down a hill that we're trying to stop. Yeah, Nurse Amy kind of agreed with that. So it's not that I tried to coerce Mr. Alcott, it's your infant. But I am one vote on this board. And I'm sure that I have several board members because of my grandstanding, showboating, and whatever else it is that I've been accused of doing. But when I ran a campaign, I ran it on a foundation of what I said. And I haven't backed up on any of that, and I'm not going to. So this is where we are.
Anyone else have any more comments about our public input?
I greatly
Tonight.
appreciate everybody's public input, especially the after-school program, and hope that we can learn more about that and maybe stop by and visit it. And just appreciate everybody who respectfully shared their opinions with us.
I got something.
I do have something to say.
Okay,
I'm
come back.
sorry,
You'll
can I
get to-
interrupt you?
Ms. King?
As most of you know, I'm afforded the opportunity, the awesome opportunity to serve in several different capacities. This one, I'm humbled to be able to serve on this capacity, but I'm also humbled to be able to serve as an administrator in Pitt County Schools, where this is what I do every single day. So this is not something that I get to hear about. This is something that I get to experience each and every day. And when I get passionate about it, it sometimes comes off a different way. So I'm trying to contain my passion, because my passion is for our students and our educators. And our teachers and our students are suffering because of what we're doing. They're suffering because we as the leaders, we as the policy makers and policy breakers are doing the opposite of what we try to teach our children to do, which is to not always agree, but to know how to disagree and know how to follow things that are put in place. Because we don't always like what is put in place. When the seatbelt law first came out, I had the hardest time ever with my grandmother because she called this thing a gorter. And she said, it's hurting my gorter. And I said, but it's the law. And she said, well, I don't want to follow the law. But guess what? We have to follow the law. There are certain things, and I don't care. And when I say I don't care, I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean, it doesn't matter to me what we choose to do. What matters to me is how we execute what we have chosen to do. Our children are watching us. They are watching how we can't make a decision, how we can't get along, how we can't take a piece of cloth that, whether it's working or doesn't work, whatever the case may be, they're watching us. And we're leading by a terrible example right now. From the top of leadership of the nation to the bottom, okay? We as a collective body of people need to learn how to, number one, talk to each other, okay? I read a post recently, it doesn't matter, I don't care if you're the supervisor or the innkeeper or the custodian, we all deserve the same level of respect. It doesn't matter what your degrees are, okay? It doesn't matter your social economic status. We are all human beings and we all need to be talked to and treated the same way. When I die and when you die, we're all going to one place or another, whatever you believe in. We need to learn how to get along. We need to learn how to teach our children that you may not like the decision, but you will have to follow the decision or there'll be consequences for the decision. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you. But I'm really at the point now that I think each to its own. Okay, if you don't want to wear the mask, don't wear the mask. Okay, if you don't want to wear it, don't wear it. And if something happens to you, then something happens to you. If I want to wear the mask, then I wear the mask. Now I'm doing whatever our board votes to do. Do I believe it's working? I do believe it's working. Okay, if you don't believe it's working, that's up to you. But it would help our children from kindergarten on up if we as adults could begin to act like adults and lead our children. And I'm done. Don't clap.
Victor?
I was about to clap too. I just want to say one final thing. I haven't been on this board long, but I've been up here long enough to vote for a mask. And it was at that point that a whole segment of our community just wanted to think I was the worst thing since high fructose corn sugar. But I'm really not. I'm only, and I'm gonna always, and this is for the video really, but I've only and always only made decisions that were well thought out of for the benefit as the whole ecosystem of students here. Not for one child or another, but something that could affect all of the children equally. And that's what I will always do. I will stand on every decision I make, and I will stand on everything in my life, past, present, or future, with no shame. But I just wanted that to be said on camera, that I've only made proper, well-thought decisions using what I saw to be facts in this situation. And to the many parents of all cultures in this county, well, not many, but it's been a few that's called me, and Miss Wendy can attest, because I call her, that I attend to what's going on in their life. I'm sure that they are satisfied with the service that I've given. And that's all I can do. And I'm happy about what I've done thus far, and I will continue to do as long as I'm sitting behind this desk. Thank you very much.
Ms. Clark?
I just want to say, when are we going to think about educating our kids? That should be the focus. That should be the focus. Whatever vitriol people feel, like Ms. King said, we need to start getting along. We are an embarrassment. We are an embarrassment to our kids. And the optimism and the respect, that gives me hope. Because when I go into the schools, and yes, I do go into the schools, and the kids are wearing their mask. The kids are wearing their mask. I got on this board to serve the best way I could. And that's just the way it is. We need to learn to, the irony is that the character word is respect. And we're certainly doing an abysmal job. Just an abysmal job. So everyone on the board, I just believe that masks are the way to go. And even if it isn't, the majority rules. I just have one vote, but the majority rules. We don't always have to agree, but we do have to respect one another. That's all I have to say, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone else? Okay. If there are any more comments, I'll ask Dr. Miller if she will conduct an evaluation of our meeting for tonight.
In your work as a board, what worked to help you accomplish your goals for tonight, the pluses of the meeting?
We have public input.
The student's character word.
We stayed on task.
The celebrations of our staff and students. And the update, the COVID update of your discussion with the health department, Ms. Scott Harrelson.
Anything else that worked tonight?
Well, I appreciated the report out from Dr. Miller, and especially her work and our nurses' work with Scott Harrelson.
Anything else? What worked?
Mr. Lights, can I say Mr. Lights?
Yeah. Mr. Lights.
This venture to partner with Craven County Schools.
Anything else?
I think it's a plus that we have that much public input, even if it's sometimes painful to hear. I think the engagement is good.
And I also think, for the most part, folk did follow the rules this time. That was positive.
It's been said twice. It's been said twice, but yeah, I was gonna say the public input too. I like it when the community gets to speak their mind. I wish we could, as I've always said, find a way that we could address their questions when they're asked upon us, but I understand the rules as well, but the public input, definitely.
Anything else for pluses?
Our new leadership that was
Yes,
recognized
yes,
tonight.
Anything else for pluses?
Chairman Boomer's leadership of a meeting through the past many months, actually.
Anything else?
I would like to say that we, most of the public input that we get is not really in favor of the things that we are trying to do. But I do know that there are people present tonight who do support the things that we are doing. And so even though they are silent and others are listening, they don't really say anything. We always hear the negative, but we don't ever hear the positive. But I do think, I'm thankful tonight that there are some here who are here that I know are in favor of some of the things that we're trying to do.
Anything else for the pluses? All right, on the deltas, it would even be better
If folk understood, and this goes somewhat to what Mr. Dove was saying, understood that this is not a town hall, town meeting rather, where we can engage, and perhaps that's something that we need to do. That being said, the negative is that some folk don't understand that freedom of speech does not mean that you're allowed to disrupt a meeting. Robert Rules of Order does not mean that you're allowed to disrupt a meeting. And the board perhaps needs to do a better job of educating the public as to the difference between a town hall and a meeting.
Deltas?
I think we need to review, even though our character words tonight was respect. I think that's something that we need to emphasize more. And one of our rules is respect each other. And I don't think that was exercised throughout the entire meeting.
Any other deltas for improvement?
I don't know how to say it. This had a lot of rough public input. But tonight, part of it in particular is just a new low. I mean, just looking at the whole, how we want people to be able to speak to us. We want people to share their passion. We don't want whatever that crazy talk show, the talk show where that's all about, what am I trying to say? The talk show guy where you.
Jerry Springer.
Thank you, Jerry Springer. We don't want our school board meetings to become the Jerry Springer show because kids are watching. Our kids are watching, our students are watching, our teachers are watching. This is not like a county commissioner meeting where mostly adults are watching. Our kids are watching. Our kids are evaluating our meetings in their classroom. We have got to find a way to do better.
Any other deltas?
Yes, Ms. Boomer spoke to that there are people that are on the other side that are even in this room who think the opposite of what was presented tonight. I think we need to hear from the opposite side sometimes. I think we need to be vocal as well. The other side needs to be vocal.
Anything else? All right, I'll review these for you. And I'm sure Ms. Flowers has got these in the back, but since we're separate, I took my own list. So she's got the official list, but the pluses were public input, the student character word, stayed on task, celebrations of staff and students, the COVID update, the report out of Dr. Miller and the nurses working with Scott Harrelson, the amount of public input, the presentation regarding Mr. Life, I think is what you said. The rules were followed for input. New leadership was recognized and Chairman Boomer's leadership, and that we have silent support. All right, the deltas, folks don't understand that this is not a town hall. The public does not understand that you can't disrupt a meeting. That there needs to be more emphasis on respect. Tonight, we did not do a good job of respecting one another. There was a new low for public input. We need to hear from those who have different opinions, and that's what I had for your plus deltas.
Thank you so much. And at this time, I need to get a motion to adjourn this meeting. It has been moved and second that this meeting is adjourned. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming again.